Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today we are putting up yet another entry in our early off-season preview series, asking a couple of questions of each of the teams in the league as we get ourselves ready for the start of free agency and the real heart of the off-season. So, we are down to the last couple of teams here, and the squad that we're looking at today is the Los Angeles Lakers. So, obviously, the Lakers had quite an interesting season. They sucked for the first half, pretty much, rebuilt their team at the trade deadline, and then made a march all the way to the Western Conference Finals before falling to the Nuggets. So, two very different halves of the season, but now the question is, what does the next season and what does this off season look like for them? So, with that in mind, we'll take a look at the stats for the squad, starting with their record. They go 43-39 in the regular season. That is enough for 7th in the Western Conference. They remained the 7th seed after playing their way through the play-in tournament, but they finished 5th in the Pacific Division, a division that did send all 5 of its members to the postseason. But obviously that success means that the Lakers, despite making it, were still the last ranked team in their division. But once they make the postseason, they do a pretty damn good job. 9-8 record overall before being eliminated in the Western Conference Finals by the eventual champion Denver Nuggets. So they make a pretty solid run of it. But now we take a look at some of their other stats, and these stats are going to be a little bit weird. Offensive rating had them at 20th overall this season. In terms of their defensive rating, they were 11th overall, which puts their net rating at 16th, while playing with the 3rd highest pace and having the 7th highest payroll. Now, you would think those numbers, are a little bit weird for a team that makes the postseason, but this is where that mid-season retooling kind of changes things up, right? The stats for the team in the first half compared to the second half were wildly different. So the numbers you see on your screen are kind of, well, the average of a good half and a bad half thrown together. So, kind of hard to tell exactly where they stood by the end of the season based on those statistics, but that is basically how averages work. You can't just cut out the bad parts when it doesn't really suit you. But we'll take a look now at the offseason additions and losses for the Lakers. There's a lot of rumored stuff for them, but not too much in terms of actual confirmed additions and losses prior to the start of free agency. In terms of players added, it's just a couple of draft picks so far. Jalen Hood Scifino, I believe is how you pronounce it, was taken by them, and they traded for the draft rights to Maxwell Lewis. So, a couple of young guys being added to the roster here. In terms of losses for the Lakers, there are 2 confirmed so far. Mo Bamba was waived just a little while back, and Malik Beasley had his team option declined. So, of course, every time we talk about a player having an option declined, we still mention there's a chance that they get re-signed on a different, usually lesser contract. But for now, Malik Beasley has left the team. So, with that in mind, let's get into the questions here for the Los Angeles Lakers. Question number 1's about as vague as can be. But that question is, what comes next for this team? The Lakers season took a pretty dramatic turn last year. As I mentioned, the roster was pretty much entirely overhauled at the trade deadline to transform it into a squad that made a pretty much miraculous run all the way to the Western Conference Finals. The question now is, what does the team look like moving forward, as the duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis is kind of the only part of this lineup that's effectively locked in. All the other pieces around it are kind of uncertain or moving, right? Guys like D'Angelo Russell, Lonnie Walker, Rui Hachimura, Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reeves, even some of the smaller guys, right? Talking about, your Wenyen Gabriels, Troy Brown Jr.'s, guys who saw solid minutes. They're not under contract for next season either. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made here. The good news for the Lakers is that they do have a little bit of money under the cap and the luxury tax threshold to retain some of those players, maybe even splurge a little bit on 1 or 2 mid-level guys. But to keep all of those guys at presumably increased prices for some of them, while also potentially looking at improvements in the lineup from outside of their own free agents, is probably going to push them over that cap and closer to the luxury tax threshold. So they've got some space, but they're almost certainly going to have to use it. There is a possibility here that despite making a deep playoff run, despite making it to the conference finals, the Lakers simply can't afford to return that same lineup for the next season, which means we're sort of back to square one again for this team where you have AD, you have LeBron, but you need to effectively rebuild the lineup around those two for what would feel like the third or fourth time now. So lots of questions for the future of the Lakers outside of just those two guys, and no super clear answers at the moment. But that moves us to the second issue here for the Lakers, regardless of who is on this team. The team needs to be better from behind the three-point line and at the free throw line. This has been a problem for the Lakers essentially since they acquired LeBron James in the first place, but they need to improve their three-point shooting. They were among the worst in the league in terms of both three-pointers attempted and three-point percentage, and that weakness became even more apparent in the playoffs when basically everyone other than Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves couldn't seem to buy a three-pointer, especially LeBron. He was just kind of clanking threes left, right, and center for a little bit there. The need for more sharpshooters is pretty apparent for the Lakers, but another point of concern is their free throw shooting, as I mentioned at the start of this section, which may come as a bit of a surprise considering the endless talk about how many free throws they shot. They led the league in free throw attempts this season. I mean, they played a style that basically forced you to either let them score or foul them. So they shot a lot of free throws. Like I said, led the league in attempts. They were also second in the league in free throws made, which are both pretty strong stats. And you would think, okay, well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is that their actual free throw percentage was 20th in the league. They shot 77.5%, which simply cannot be allowed to happen for a team that found its way to the line as much as the Lakers did. If you plan to play a similar game plan for this upcoming season, where you want to take advantage of your physicality, you want to take advantage of guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron being so strong inside, you cannot afford to be leaving points on the table. Taking a look at their stats, they left an average of 6 points on the floor per game just by missing their free throws. So in some games, 6 points isn't going to matter, but in others, it really could be the difference. And if your plan is to get to the line as often as possible, you need to bring that shooting percentage up significantly. So again, that kind of comes back to the personnel. They could bring in some better free throw shooters and three-point shooters, but as of right now, we don't know. We simply know that it didn't work as well for them last season as they needed it to. But that brings us to our third and final question here for the Lakers. This one's going to start looking and be a little bit further down the line than even just this upcoming season. Question 3 is Anthony Davis the way of the future for the Lakers? Now, Anthony Davis is an incredible player when he's at full strength and when he's fully healthy. I don't think you could find a rational fan or analyst who would tell you otherwise if he's healthy. The issue is, when is he healthy, right? He is very commonly injured or out entirely in some cases. So when he does play, he can be very good, but he can also be frustratingly inconsistent. We saw in this last playoff run the sort of joke that wasn't a joke developing about Anthony Davis putting up good stat lines every other game, and those games in between were kind of duds for the Lakers. And obviously that trend wasn't exact, right? It wasn't literally every other game, but it came up often enough for people to kind of make a point of it. So he's inconsistent when he does play, but he also misses a lot of games. He missed an average of 33.5 games per season in the regular season. This isn't counting the playoffs, since joining the Lakers, and is entering what could potentially be the final year of his contract. He has a player option for the 24-25 season, but this is the last guaranteed year with the Lakers. And we know that the other half of the duo for the Lakers could be moving as well, right? LeBron has said that he wants to play with his son. He wants to spend at least 1 year with whatever team drafts Bronny. So where is he going to go? If the Lakers don't end up drafting him, then LeBron's going to go to play with his son, because that would be an incredible thing to do, to have a father and son play for the same team. But it's very unlikely that that team is the Lakers, right? So he will almost certainly not be the face of the franchise beyond the next 1 or 2 years, right? I'm not really sure when he plans to retire, but his son is going to be eligible to declare for the draft in the next like year or two. So that would probably be the time when he would leave, and the Lakers would no longer have him to play around. The question is Anthony Davis the new face of the franchise? Is he someone that they feel that they can truly build around and can be healthy enough for them to commit to long term with a sort of big time contract extension? Frankly, it's a tough question to answer, and right now the solution is to just not think about it, really. LeBron is still with the team. Anthony Davis is still signed for 1 more year. So in terms of right this second, the Lakers are probably more concerned with building a lineup to compete in the 23-24 campaign than they are worried about, 2024, 2025 or beyond. But who knows, right? Maybe the team still has some potential to win a championship. They did make the Western Conference Finals. They really did not look great against the Nuggets, but with some changes, maybe they could do it again. But that window, if it exists at all, is closing, and the Lakers need to seriously think about what sort of comes next for their franchise. But those are some tough decisions, and like I said, the Lakers' focus is going to be on the here and now for the time being. But that's all I've got on that front. So let me know what you think here. What does the Lakers lineup look like? Do they bring a lot of these guys back? Do they make some changes in the hopes of getting better? How do you think they address sort of their 3-point shooting woes that have continued to plague this team? And what are your thoughts on Anthony Davis? Is he a guy that they're willing to take the gamble on and hope that he stays healthy getting further into his career? Or should they start looking maybe somewhere else? But either way, please feel free, as I said, to share your thoughts. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.